Well, they say that you can learn a lot about a man by his truck, and that's true, especially in Texas. In the land of brodozers and I've got a bigger truck than you energy, the Texas Motor Speedway is a bit of a change of pace, where all that talk about having a bigger one turns into talking about having a faster one. There's 120 laps tonight in the second round of the Season 6 Area Truck Series, and a record amount of drivers want to prove that their stickered-up big rig imitation is the best on this side of Texas. Hi, everybody. Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn tonight for the second round of the season, and it is a packed field, Connor. We are sending about 11 drivers home tonight, and there still could be some more that try to get into the tail end of practice.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It's getting very, very crazy right now. No doubt about it.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be a challenging night. 120 laps. We saw 140 with the Cup Series last night. About 6 or 7 yellows throughout the evening, Connor. We saw some big wrecks, though, especially early in the going. But once we got the momentum rolling, we got laps clicked off and away. What we didn't see, though, was a lot of shuffling. The drivers that qualified up front kind of stayed up front. So in that 5-minute qualifying section, we're going to be focusing a lot on the cut line. But I think it's also important to see who qualifies in that top 10.
It will be very important because I think it's going to be a pretty track position-based race. It's a hard track to pass at Texas Motor Speedway. I started at the back. It took me 80, 90 laps to get into the top 5. It can be done, but it's going to be a little bit harder, I think. I think the Truck Series has a chance to get much more spread out tonight, I think. You're going to see the lanes get a lot wider than you've ever seen in Texas. We saw it get wide last night as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see who qualifies at the front. And I think that's going to put you at the front for the rest of the race as long as you don't make any mistakes. We saw that with Matheson, Nichols, and a few others that started at the front and stayed there the entire race. So that's what everyone's aim is going to be tonight.
As far as the tire wear and the aerodynamics, right, this truck has been redone since last season. We haven't run Texas here in the Area Truck Series yet before. So with the new aerodynamic model and the tire wear that we're expecting, what's the long run look like? Are we going to see fall off? We saw a bit in the Cup Series race, and it seemed to matter a little bit when you put tires on, but it wasn't a major story.
And maybe close to 2 seconds worth is what we might be seeing. The times from Cup cars to trucks here are actually pretty similar. There's not too much of a difference, in my opinion, from the times I've been seeing. Your entrance points, your acceleration points, when you're getting on the throttle, when you're lifting off, they're much more similar than you might think. So we're going to be able to look at that kind of as a reference point for a lot of these drivers, a reference point a lot of these drivers are going to use for tonight that did run Monday night, last night's Cup race. So it is more similar than we've ever seen, but we'll see how the new aero messes with this track and messes with the racing. We saw a little bit more side draft than what we're used to at Daytona, but this is where you would really see things be different because we've seen pack races at 1.5 miles. So you think back to Vegas last year, how that raced. You might see it get a little more spread out. That dirtier might be a little bit more difficult, and it might be harder to put the throttle down tonight because of those aero decisions, those aero changes, I should say, because if you get a little bit sideways, you're full throttle like 3 and 4, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So these drivers got to be careful and they got to be ready.
Eric Wineland in the 21 works his way down the back straightaway, and some other drivers near the top. Matthew Batby in the 89 is a new name this season in that Hendry County Motorsports Park truck, which is our replay partner. We'll talk about a little bit more about later tonight, but there's a lot of new names up in this mix. Drew Jua was a very late add. So late that he kind of threw off the number selection here a little bit for some of the drivers in this field. But there's a lot of new names and new faces that are trying to make their mark. And how do you do that, Connor, when the field is so thick? I mean, you've been a driver that's been here a couple of seasons long, like a driver like JT Poole, for example. How do you stand out with all these new names trying to vie for competition?
In my opinion, you do 2 things. One, you run very fast. You run top 5, top 10. You have top 5, top 10 speed week in, week out. But the second thing, which might be more important, you got to race with respect. You got to race cleanly. You can't come into the series without running around all of these drivers and just rough everyone up, bump everyone out of the way, not giving them room. You have to race with respect, and you'll get that respect right back, especially if you're doing that while running at the front. You'll get the drivers not only at the back of the field respecting you because you're fast and clean, but also the guys at the front. If you're going to be top 5 driver like a JT Poole or a Travis Beckner or a Jake Nichols, you got to race with respect, run everyone clean, and you'll get that right back, and you'll have a lot of fun racing in this series if you're able to do that. Something a lot of drivers did well last week. Matthew Batby, he was pretty clean last week. He's at the top of the leaderboard today, but he was one of those drivers who had heartbreak strike on that final lap of the truck race. He was leading, got turned by JT Poole accidentally in turn 1 and 2, triggered that huge crash that saw Justin Asogak turn into a torpedo. He was so close to victory in his first career start, but it was Jonathan Evans who ended up winning his first career start. We talk about those open trucks needing to make the field. He made the field and then some. His first start as an open truck, he won the race. We could see that tonight because there's plenty of fast open trucks here tonight.
Yeah, if I'm reading this correct, we got 24 open trucks tonight, which is a pretty sizable chunk of the field. And there are some great names on it. You mentioned Jonathan Evans, but Gary Waterworth is on that list. Rafe Slade is on that list. Brandon Bowie, Ricky Springer, Carter Koop, Cameron Hearn, Landon Brown we've seen. I mean, Bryce Senesac in the 09. There's a lot of trucks that are really going to have to race their way in. Did I see that the 09 is not making a start? I don't think I see him here.
I don't believe he is tonight. No.
So that will at least remove one of the trucks off that list potentially. But 5 minutes of qualifying is underway, and this is about to be pretty frantic. The times will show up on the left, Connor, but it's not just a straight up who's the top 43, because those that are chartered in don't have to perform in this qualifying session to the same degree that those in the open trucks do. So there'll be a bit of math and calculation going on in the background to figure out who makes this race, but here we go.
The first truck we're going to be able to look at on track, the 57 of Julian Valadez. He is locked into the field, so no worries about that for him tonight, as he's going to go down the back straightaway. He had a rough time at Daytona, so he's going to try to right that ship. As you can see, he's the first one on the track, or one of them at least, and immediately the track, not in sunlight, going to cool down a little bit here. So this is exactly when everyone wants to get onto the track. But it's not like it used to be in previous seasons where you'd have 10 minutes to wait it out and wait on the sun to go out, or maybe not. You got to go right away. You only got 5 minutes, and you only have that one lap.
Yeah, in the past we would see drivers, as you mentioned, wait to the very end of the session to hopefully drop a half a degree or a degree, and sometimes that made all the difference. But with only 5 minutes, you don't have a lot of opportunity to do that. Of the 54 trucks that are here, I think about 45 of them are on the racetrack right now because they don't have a lot of time, and they're going to try to take advantage of the conditions while they are here. Cameron Hearn jumps to the top. Seth Nold quickly pips him, but for Hearn, that's not a bad place to be, although he's going to get knocked down to fourth very quickly. Beckner to the top, and that timing screen's about to be a busy revolving door.
Yeah, it's not like the hour-and-a-half ordeal we had for Cup qualifying at Daytona. 5 minutes, you're going to have 50-plus drivers get times down. This is a 26. I believe that's Joshua Balliet. He's actually the 26 on the timing sheet, but we have two of those tonight. Brandon Bowie, he made the field last week. He'll cross the line. Trying to see a little bit down the order. No, he is up the order in the fourth, which is great for him. He made the field last week, but did not get a good finish out of it. Matthew Batby goes back to the top of the board like he was in practice. Euroshak second, Hall third, Beckner fourth. It's like a Miller Racing reunion.
Yeah, Matthew Batby in that 89 looks very strong. He was a chartered driver, so no concern about him getting into the field. David Weishart is rolling now. Landon Brown is one of the open drivers. We'll see what he's got, a 30.265. Now that's only 26th best, and that's not looking so good.
Already down to 28th. So he's one of those drivers. He is probably going to struggle to make the field with that time. Still have a lot of drivers to go. Eric Wineland, Jonathan Evans, Daytona's winner we talked about. He has to put time down. Kyle Bartles is another driver. He has to race his way in, qualify his way in this number 6. Outlier on the side of that car, the Hawkeye on the side of it as well. Looking for sponsorship a little bit on the back wouldn't hurt. He's through 3 and 4. You're going to see a lot of drivers try to push full throttle through that corner, even in dirty air. He's going to come across the line, 174.901. That's going to put him in 15th, and you would hope that should be good enough.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid time. I think he'll be all right with that. But once you get down below, 25th spot, that's when you start to get worried, I would think.
Yeah.
Jake Nichols is on track right now. He was third runner last night in the 73 in the Cup Series race. Lost out to Jake Matheson late in the going. And Jake Matheson is on course right now. There he is in the 52 tonight.
He's going to look to go 2 for 3 like he did so many times last season as well. Still not running the Pro Series. He's got other things to worry about on Thursdays. It's 175.556 puts him second, just a 100th off of Batby for that position. Look at Trey Eidson. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct, but look at him up into the fourth position. That's a great run for him. Jonathan Evans went 8th, so he should be safe as well. I'm looking further down the order. Other drivers that are probably done, like Andrew Allen. He's 48th on time. Joe Tardif, Devin Johnson, Robert Colgan are all drivers outside the top 43 as it is, so those drivers would certainly not be making the field.
Here's Brad Slaughter, had a disastrous run at Daytona last week, and this one is going to put him. He's just starting a lap, it looks like. I thought he was finishing up, but he's making his run now. Ooh, a little wide there out of turn 2. A lot of topic of discussion last night about this track reconfiguration and how it tends to race a little better in iRacing than it does in the real world, but with 1 and 2 being, what feels like miles wide, but the racing line isn't very wide, and 3 and 4 is narrow, but you've got a bit more room to move. It's a pretty interesting track to try to find speed on, as Slaughter does a 30.014, puts him 16th best.
And it is kind of weird. It's kind of like it does race better on iRacing, and you said the groove widens out in 3 and 4, but you might see it widen out even more in 1 and 2 tonight, because there might be a little bit more not too much more off throttle time, but I think you'll see the speeds get a little bit slower in the middle of 1 and 2. I saw drivers maybe only a groove, 2 grooves inside of that outside retaining wall, so we might see drivers really inch up there as the run goes on.
Well, qualifying is complete. 54 trucks put down times. Drew Trader did not, but I don't think he was on the list of those that wasn't potentially going to make it. So now we find out who doesn't get into the show in just a few moments' time. But 43 trucks will take the green tonight for 120 laps around Texas Motor Speedway. And once we turn them loose, Connor, do you think this is going to be one of those nights, you mentioned it's probably going to string out a bit, but if we get a yellow flag, is this going to be one of those nights where we kind of start to see, shorter runs, or will we get a nice long green one to the end?
I think we'll get some green flag running tonight. I think the way it can spread out and how much room we might see these drivers have to race at Texas, we should see some pretty solid racing tonight. And but we'll just have to wait and see. It's not like a bunch of other tracks we go to where we've seen what happens here and we know what will happen here. We haven't raced here before. Before tonight, I don't think we'd raced here in any of the 3 series. So this is completely new to this series. So some of these drivers might not have ran this in a while. I know I haven't ran this track in a truck in maybe 2 years since Road to Pro ended that year. So a lot of these drivers might not be used to this, especially not used to running this track alongside all the drivers in this series. 43 trucks in this tight of a space and this competitive of a league should really, you'd hope it wouldn't cause some problems, but there's going to be a lot of roughhousing tonight, I would think. But I think we will see some green flag running, and just got to get past that first run.
Yeah, I made the point last night that if you are running in oval series in iRacing in the leagues area, if you're not running in area, you kind of miss the boat. I mean, 54 trucks trying to qualify into Texas, which is not a beloved track, right? This is not Daytona.
No.
We had that number last week. That's impressive. But you come to Texas, which is not one of people's favorite places to go, and you're still packing the grids. This is where the competition is. It's you talk about quality versus quantity, and I always say that the quantity of racers brings the quality of them, right? Because everyone that wants to be here, or everyone everyone wants to be here because of how busy it is, how competitive it is, and that's why they're stacking the grids 50 trucks deep. So very excited to see how this goes tonight. Again, we don't really know, and we mentioned this last night, we don't really know who the cream of the crop is because Daytona is kind of a free-for-all. So this is the first opportunity that we'll kind of see drivers make their way to the front that we can expect to see all season. Some of them probably aren't going to be surprises, but there could be some on that list, like Sebastian Marin in the 32, Michael Venable in the 95. There's a couple of trucks in this mix that we don't know how they're going to do, and if the championship hopefuls will start to rise in the next few weeks.
Yeah, we quite don't know. We know a little bit about drivers who have been in area for a long time, or at least for a few seasons and a bit at the top. We kind of know what to expect from them, like Jake Matheson, like John Hall from last season, like Jake Nichols. We know those drivers will be at the front, but you're always looking for those drivers that are coming in brand new, see if they can make it to the top. Like a JT Poole, who was new a few seasons ago. Joshua Balliet, who had a strong Truck Series campaign last season. You got guys in the field, Julian Valadez, Rafe Slate, his first starts in the Truck Series in a while. Pacey Wygant is in the field. Vincent Cortez is in a truck this season. He wasn't last season. And obviously Matthew Batby, who ran well last week and qualified up at the front once again. You've got all sorts of drivers who can most likely compete at the front this season. It's just a matter of can they get through those guys who have been here for seasons past.
So it looks like, again, Connor, tell me if I'm reading this wrong, that we've got our drivers that are out, and it appears to be Gabriel Toledo, Jeremy Brown, Ben McDonald, Gary Waterworth, Dean Gagliano, Ben Pierce, Landon Brown, Scott Tompkins, Robert Colgan, Devin Johnson, Joe Tardif, and Andrew Allen are those that are out, and that means that Rafe Slate, Cameron Hearn, Ricky Springer, Kyle Bartles, Reese Schaefer, Brandon Bowie, Jonathan Evans, and Eric Weiland are in.
And it does look correct to me, and it's pretty close for a lot of drivers. I think Gary Waterworth, he was in Daytona last week. I do see a few drivers who didn't make the race this week that also missed Daytona. So I think Robert Colgan made Daytona, but he did not make it this week. Same thing for Waterworth. But I believe I believe Ben McDonald, Ben Pierce, I believe, missed Daytona. Devin Johnson might have as well. So there's a lot of drivers in that open category that are struggling to make races. And like you were talking about, because we have quantity and quality, the times are fast, so it's hard to make these fields. A lot of these drivers are going to have to step their game up, because we're probably going to be sending trucks and cars home in all 3 series for a while here.
I can imagine. So, before we get into the race here tonight, race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. As a subscriber, you'll have Area iRacing emotes to use in the chat, and you can earn double channel points that you can use to redeem for free merchandise for just $5 a month. Join today at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. And our replay sponsor this season is Hendry County Motorsports Park, and it sounds like we've got our track prep guru John Wilson and track owner Ken Kenny in attendance tonight watching from home. So guys, welcome aboard, and thanks to Hendry County Motorsports Park for being our replay partner this season. Of course, racing returns to the Hendry County Motorsports Park on September 7th, including 360 Top Gun wing sprints, Cruiser late models, factory stocks, and more. Wing splits, sorry, I read sprints, but that's splits. Factory stocks and more. Tickets are $15 for adults, with discounted prices for seniors, teens, and kids ages 5 or under are free. Come see racing at Hendry County Motorsports Park. This is a fantastic facility, and we call it the southernmost dirt track in America, located in Clewiston, Florida, right off U.S. Highway 27. Visit HendryRacing.com for more info. So we'll head down to the racetrack now and get underway here in just a few moments' time. And it is an interesting evening because we watch that weather. The track temperature is dropping. Ambient temp, Connor, is about 83 degrees. Track temp, though, is 88 in qualifying. It's down to 87. We'll probably see that get closer and closer to ambient through the rest of the night.
Yeah, and we'll see those winds change a little bit as well. 8.5 miles an hour. It's not too crazy. Definitely not what you probably saw last night into the Chicago area, but it's definitely enough that it will probably affect these trucks a little bit at certain ends of the racetrack.
No, certainly not. One of the co-founders of the company I work for, Grid Life, had his tree house blown straight out of his tree last night, so that was no fun. It was pretty wild last night. Got tornado warnings 2 nights in a row around the same time. I think tonight, though, will be relatively clean and clear. Before we get down to the grid, though, looking for a small or large home, a new shed, or a Triple Crown trailer, look no further than Central Mobile Homes. They've been proudly serving Florida customers for 28 years with a plethora of small and large home floor plans, shed designs, and Triple Crown trailers available in LaBelle, Okeechobee, Clewiston, and Sebring. Head to centralmobilehomesinc.com to get started today. It's a big grid, Connor. Let's roll through it and kick off the starting lineup here tonight for the second round of the Area Truck Series season. On the front row, it's Matthew Batby in that number 89, backing up his practice times with pole in this one. Jake Matheson, last night's winner, rolls off second in his number 52 Ford F-150.
And starting in the third position, the standout from the Pro Series last season, Connor Yurashak third, Trey Eitz in a surprise fourth place qualifying run for him.
Starting in fifth, it's John Hall in the 03 in his Ford F-150. David Weishart rolls off sixth in the number 33.
Seventh position is going to go to Eric Wineland. He's one of those open trucks that made it in with a top 10 run. Travis Beckner, always fast at these mile-and-a-halfs. He'll start eighth.
Ninth place, Jonathan Evans, last week's winner in the number 9 Toyota Tundra. Brandon Bowie rolls off 10th in the 54.
11th place will be Jake Nichols, runner-up by 200ths of a second last week. 12th place, Michael Van Abel.
And 13th place, Edward Scherer Jr. in the 17 truck. Jeremy Miller rolls off 14th in the number 30.
15th place, Seth Knoll, Miller's teammate, and 15th, Brad Slaughter Jr. in the 81 truck. He'll start 16th.
17th place, Drew Jua in the number 7 truck. Joshua Balliet starts 18th in the number 26.
19th place will be the 61 of Daniel Day. Sebastian Marin, new to this series, will start 20th.
21st place, Reese Schaefer in the 07. Casey Lakatos rolls off 22nd in the number 50.
By the way, we have another lap to get through this, so we're good. Kyle Bartles, another open truck to make the field, starts 23rd. JT Poole, he's a 26 on track, but on our ticker, he'll be 27, and he'll start 24th.
25th place, Mason Kane in the 31 truck. He'll roll off in his Ford F-150. Cameron Hearn, 26th to the number 67.
27th position, Ricky Springer in the number 51 in the truck series for some starts this season. Vincent Cortez, who had a rough time last week at Daytona, he'll start 28th.
29th place is Pacey Wygant in the 00 Chevy Silverado. Ryan Swan rolls off 30th in the number 20.
The 31st position, the last driver in on time as far as the open trucks are concerned, Rafe Slate qualifies 31st, just barely making it in. James Shane Wolf will start 32nd in number 83 Silverado.
And 33rd is Gabriel Toledo in the number 60. Jeremy Brown, 34th in the 87 truck.
and I believe those two actually missed the field, so they will not be a part of the race. Julian Valadez will be a part of the race. This will kind of be some DNQs, some not DNQs. Ben McDonald's another one who did not make the field. Yeah,
last couple rows here, and again, some of these in, some of these not. As we make our way around, see the lights shut off on the catch fencing, which means next time around we are going green for 120 laps this evening. And there are so many trucks that attempted to qualify. Of course, not all of them made it into the show tonight. Before we make our picks, I do want to point out those that we've got with us, giving us some onboard views here tonight. Of course, we've got Ricky Springer giving us his onboard perspective. Daniel Day is giving us a look inside his cockpit here tonight. Travis Beckner, as always, will get his perspective and all the energy that comes with. And then Eric Wineland giving us a big ol' yawn. He just finished up. He looks tired after work, but he's ready to go racing here. John Hall gives us another perspective, as well as JT Poole. Those are our onboard cameras here tonight. And ready to go racing here shortly.
And if a tired Eric Wineland qualified 7th, what can a rested Eric Wineland do? That's what I want to know. But a lot of drivers are going to have a lot of work to do, especially the drivers maybe 15th on back. It's such a dense field. It'll be especially dense through 1 and 2 the first time at speed next time by. We might see 3, we might see 4 wide that we saw last night. It is going to be an intense first few laps.
Well, the pace truck is going to make the hard left onto pit lane. If this race were to go green from flag to flag, it would be about a 1-hour event. We'll probably get some yellows along the way. Tough trucking in Texas. It's time to go racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Green flag, and we're underway in race 2 of season 6 of the Area Truck Series.
Oh, we got contact. Brad Slaughter Jr. spinning out of turn number 2 in the traffic. I think he got clobbered by someone. And if he didn't, it was incredible. He might not have gotten hit. I might have been lying.
Well, he saves it and will carry on. Well, we'll take a look at it, bookmarked it for later. Everyone did a great job on lap 1. Everyone's just kind of flat-footing it around, trying to gain what they can. And for everyone to lift on the opening lap, that shows incredible patience. Now give it 110 laps, maybe they won't do the same.
Yeah, I anticipated him getting clobbered just because of how dense that field was, but somehow I think he got away without damage. I think he had contact with Jeremy Miller. Everyone else is through cleanly. We saw a lot of drivers fight for the bottom line immediately. Matheson got the bottom on exit of 2, and everyone else is running bottom. The top 3 are at least. Batby, Yurashek, Matheson, the top 3.
Across the stripe, Connor Yurashek is giving Matthew Batby all sorts of contention down here into turn 1, drives to the bottom of the racetrack, pulls even, almost clear with that quarter panel, and he is clear, and he's going to pull up ahead of Batby onto the back straightaway, new leader.
And wanting that clean air is going to be important. We saw how it paid off for the 2 Jakes last night, Nichols and Matheson, because once that battle for 3rd got intense, those 2 were able to pull away. So Yurashek, Batby, any of the drivers that can get to the front could end up pulling away from the main pack if the battles get too intense.
Watching trucks drive into turn 1 on the outside there. The purple truck is Brandon Bowie. We saw the outside, I don't want to say come in, Connor, but it seemed like you could actually make some moves up there later in the race last night. I wonder if the trucks will have that same maneuverability.
We'll just have to wait and see. You can definitely get runs off of turn number 2. I made a move on Beckner through 1 and 2 a little later in the run. The tires have to wear out for it to be a big factor, but when they wear out, you have some drivers that don't save them, some drivers that do. You can make that high line of 1 and 2 work, and that's really where you want to set up your passes. You want to get the run out of turn number 2, get to their inside or outside through 3 and 4, and just hope you can hold it alongside them out of 4, and just hope you can make that work. As we'll look at the instant replay here. Oh, Miller got sideways, and Slaughter had nowhere to go. This is where I thought he got slammed. And the caution's out live. They did miss him. We got a crash down the back. And I think it is live, the 26 of... No, not the 26 of Valiette.
It's Beckner.
Travis Beckner with big damage.
Yeah, there might be more involved in this, too. But first caution of the night.
He was running in the 5th position. Oh, man.
There is some damage to the right front of that truck. He's going to skip the pit lane, so it doesn't need to come down for emergency service, which at least means he's got all the corners still rolling, and he was up in the air on the back straightaway. The 95 was involved. Let's go back a little further ahead of this and see. Oh, he's going to get turned off the nose.
Trey Eidson looked like he squeezed the 70 maybe, and it's Weishart with a big slam, and the 9 as well. So big damage to those guys as well.
Yeah, I think it really was mostly the 33 and 28, and the 95 just kind of got clipped. But we'll go back a little bit more and see from high above.
Beckner tries to squeeze him out here. 70 maybe came down a little bit, but there's still such little room of maneuverability there. The 33, oh, that was last week's winner, Jonathan Evans. Seth Knoll barely scraped through that, so maybe 3 or 4 trucks involved. It did see one spin in the back, but it didn't look like it garnered much damage.
Yeah, and from what I can tell, Eidson, I mean, it was close, but I think he was close enough that that would have caused the spotter to still call the overlap there. But I think Beckner was maybe hoping that he would back out of that, but he didn't seem keen to do that.
Yeah, it just wasn't, there's just no time to back out there. And you can see that those are one of the things, those new physics, one thing those physics are giving us. It's that brand new damage model, or new arrow, is making these cars get light, these trucks get light.
Yeah, right here, he's going to get kind of hit from the side. Bam, up airborne there for a moment, lands right back down, but there is quite a bit of damage to the 28, and he and some others, including James Shanewoolf, will hit pit lane here on this first yellow flag of the night.
And fuel, we'll see what fuel looks like. It looked like you can make it maybe 50 laps at most. Then this is still not going to put you in a window to one-stop it, but maybe if you want to go long and catch a caution, you could have that happen. We did see that benefit a lot of drivers last night.
We saw on our Hendry County Motorsports Park replay the 28 going around for a spin off the nose of Trey Eidson. The first 5 laps of this one, Connor Urashak leads the way after wrestling the top spot from Matthew Batby. Batby was still able to lead the first 2 revolutions around Texas Motor Speedway. Brandon Bowie up to 3rd place. He started in 10th, so he moved up 7 spots in those first 5 laps. That's a very strong start.
And we saw him doing that with that second lane, and that was on fresh tires. He was making that second lane work, trying to get around. I think a big part of that is because how big of a field we have. If everyone's trying to fight for that bottom line to save their tires, it's going to stack up very quickly, and it's going to get very slow in the turns number 1 and 2. So a lot of drivers like the 54, just using that to his advantage.
Jake Matheson getting lined up to restart. And think about how he got the lead last night late in the running. He was side by side with Jake Nichols, and the caution came out just at the right time to give him the nose ahead advantage. He will be remembering that later tonight when it counts. He'll be right up in the mix.
And we'll see if it works out for him, as still waiting on Connor Urashak to blink back in. Not a good sign for the 12. Yeah. He had taken the lead. We'll see if this would delay the yellow. His ping is at 2,000.
No,
that's
too
pretty
long.
bad.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to come back in. And Connor Urashak out of the lead. Yeah, it looks like everyone's moving forward. No, yeah, so.
Because it's funny because his quality is still in the hundreds, but his ping is still 2K, so it's very, very odd. But either way, this would put Batby back into the lead.
That worked out.
As long as Urashak doesn't come back.
I don't think he would come back this late, right? I mean, I've seen 10 or 15 seconds, certainly not an entire lap. Or if he does come back, he'd be somewhere else entirely on the track, and now he's dropping back down to the bottom again.
Should probably EOL him, even if he does come back.
Right. Is this considered not keeping pace with the pace truck?
I mean, it's not. Yeah, I guess that's one way to put it.
Well, the carrier pigeons that are holding his internet packets aren't keeping up, that's for sure. I imagine we'll see him officially drop out. That's heartbreaking, leading a 43 truck race, 9 laps in, and out you go.
It's just, I've never seen it where the ping is so high and he doesn't drop out. He's clearly pacing somewhere on the track, but he's not allowed to come back, so I would think even if he does come back, he's got to get put to the rear. And even if he does come back into this race officially, it would be, like you said, it's a big struggle to get through a 42 truck field, 42 other trucks.
How does this work? If he lags out, does everyone move forward, or how does this? Would they have to reset both lanes?
I think they're trying to decide right now who's controlling this restart, and Jacob Bell is telling them to do what iRacing says. We probably need some the black flag's cleared, I would think.
Yeah, this is, I don't know that I've seen this scenario with the leader having this problem, but let's try it again. Working lap 10 of 120 this time through after an early collision involving Travis Beckner, Jeremy Miller, and David Weishart. David Weishart is off the racetrack. Urashak is showing as out. Matthew Batby in the Hendrick County Motorsports truck will take the green.
Well, Batby will lead. And they'll be side by side for second with Matheson and Bowie. There is the 28 of Beckner doing that Kyle Busch restart that he does so well. He did at Daytona in the Clash, I believe, and in the duels maybe even. But didn't really work a lot because he's got a lot of damage he's gonna have to deal with. Batby clear for the Batby clear for the lead. Bowie's clear for second, looking for the lead.
Yeah, Beckner, he was giggling because he just ran out of all the speed that he built up coming to the restart. That truck is still hurting. Meanwhile, getting a little dramatic back here for just outside the top 10. Batby, Bowie, Matheson, Eitzen, Wineland, your top 5. How about the 21 performing nicely in the opening stages of this one?
Yeah, good start so far is alongside the 73, Jake Nichols trying to get to the front using that second lane. I believe Wineland's in their chat, so almost a pseudo teammate there, as I thought there was contact in the back with Akatis, but not quite there. They just got really close, him and Ricky Springer, as well as the 26 of JT Poole. As you can see, everyone wants that bottom, but if you don't want to really save the tires, if you want to get to the front, you got to get to that second lane. It's just so stacked up through 1 and 2. The pace gets so slow in the middle of the corner.
Tell you what, I like that SimTV truck. I hadn't seen that livery just yet.
That's new to him.
New to me.
I don't think he's ran that yet, yeah.
No. Down the backstretch, third place under fire, and that's Matheson on the bottom trying to take it from Trey Eitzen, and Jake Nichols watching it from behind. It wouldn't be surprising to me to get a double Jake fight again between Matheson and Nichols with how strong they were last night, how strong they are in general. I think we could see both of those two trucks trying to demand the lead again.
Ooh, look at, I think that Scherer going to the inside of Nichols at the sort of the last second. We're going to see a lot of bonsai moves into turn number 1 because from the dog leg to the entrance of 1, the track gets much more wide. So you're going to see a lot of drivers try to take others by surprise into that corner and just dive into turn number 1 and get positioning on the driver ahead. That's kind of what Scherer tried to do there. Not working out so far. Nichols strong in that higher lane. He's even running a little higher than Eitzen is. Looked like Matheson hit the apron there. Ruins his momentum a little bit. And look at Bowie looking to the inside. Batby shut it down.
And Eitzen's coming to the outside here. Now, we didn't see the outside begin to really work until later in the night, last night in the Cup Series race, but Eitzen's making progress up there. He's going to pull to the quarter panel of Matthew Batby. He might have a bit of a run down the back straightaway.
And he is going to really try to get this lead away so he can get to the bottom, I would think. Really trying his best. Look how hard he's going to go through the corner.
Sticker Mule car sticking to the outside groove out of turn 4. Eitzen's going to lead this lap, and I think he might clear Batby if he can keep this momentum rolling through 1 and 2, but this is the harder end of the racetrack to make this second lane work, but he's going to turn down and get it.
Oh, man. He just absolutely sent it into turn number 1. You could see how huge of an arc he took to make that work.
That's what a field of 42 looks like without Connor Urashak. Looks like he might not try to get back in after a frustrating kick out from connection issues. Edward Scherer's jumped up to the outside lane. So is Jake Nichols. Are they learning from what they saw Eitzen just do?
We'll just have to see. It definitely looks like they're going to try to run that to get that track position, and it looks like Eitzen wants to go and get some distance on the 89, and I think Nichols, Scherer, they might see that and they might try to follow through and make sure he doesn't get away.
Now, how does this change your plan? If all of a sudden, you're planning on this being a bottom-feeding race and you start to see everybody move up the racetrack, do you start to commit to that, or do you still try to make the bottom work knowing that, it might be better for your tires with the rubber already in the track?
It really depends, because these drivers can probably still go maybe 40 something, maybe 43, 45 more laps on this set of tires, and specifically on fuel. But really, you can't make it to 60, so we might see drivers pit only in about 35 to 40 laps. So this will definitely change how people want to drive. If they don't think the tires are going to wear out too much to the point where they're going to fall off hard, you're going to see everyone try to go up to the higher line, maybe try to learn that groove as they go to the front possibly, and just try to figure out where their truck works best, on the bottom or on the top.
Well, Bowie's down to 4th now. Edward Scherer Jr.'s jumped up to the outside as well. And I mean, I say outside, it's not really the outside. It's sort of just the second groove up from the bottom. But it's outside relative to everyone else who's stuck on that white line.
You're starting to see a lot more drivers run higher up on the exits of the corners as well. I really only saw Bowie on the way bottom that time. That's because he was to the inside of Scherer. And now you're starting to see it get really wide. John Hall's going to try that way high line through 3 and 4. Loses a little bit through the center of the corner on Reese Schaefer, or excuse me, on Michael Van Abel, but you look at the run he builds off the corner, almost enough to fully clear the 95. He's going to inch up the track just a little bit more, not pinching like you would see in real life at Texas, giving enough room so he can rotate that top line and get the run off the corner, but he got shut down there off the corner, almost a little bit of contact.
This is a fun battle back here for the top 15.
Look at that.
All the way up the hill goes John Hall, searching for grip that we saw late in the going last night. But again, exploring the grip levels, and if you can find speed up there, no one else is up there, so use it while it's empty, I guess.
And he's going to go even higher here through turns number 1 and 2, but even still, Seth Knoll kind of shut that down. And I'm sure drivers like Jonathan Evans, Seth Knoll, drivers who are seeing this are like, all right, that high line's coming in, and they're telling all their teammates, they're telling everyone how it's working.
This is when drivers have to take notes. You can actually see there's a bit more rubber on the top side than there is in the middle. So that middle is kind of no man's land, but the bottom and outside in 3 and 4, not so bad. Matthew Batby hounding Trey Eitzen again in turn 1, and they're starting to, I don't want to say break away, but they're not letting Jake Nichols hound their rear bumpers too much.
And that could be by choice for Nichols. He got into third, got into a decent position. Now at this point, he might be thinking he can kind of coast a little bit, save those tires until their first pit stop, and then maybe near the end of the run, try to get them both. He's still a lonely man, that 0-3. He's the only one trying it. And it's funny because it's working, but no one's really wanting to risk it right now because we know at any track the higher line's going to kill those tires. That's just how it works in iRacing. But I would have figured maybe 1 or 2 more people would try to gain track position doing that, but not quite yet.
Well, the more people that run up there, the more rubber will get laid down and then less and less tire wear. I think the problem is that you're never going to get more wear up or more rubber up there than you would on the bottom. So still relative to the bottom of the track, you're still going to wear the tires more even with some additional rubber laid down, so that's going to be a challenging proposition for John Hall. But in the short term, it is working, and if you can make that trade-off with the tire life, why not?
And it's also still an aero game as well. You saw through 3 and 4 that time, Seth Knoll kind of ran up the track a little bit, and made John Hall have to make a decision. He decided to not follow the one's air, and he kind of went to the middle of him and Drew Jua. So we'll see what he wants to decide here as he's trying to pass that. What's the 7 on our ticker, but the 13 on your screens currently. He's going to go all the way back to the high line because Knoll went back to the white line.
Yeah, Drew Jua was really impressive last night in the Cup Series race, and I think you could expect something similar out of him. Very late addition, that's why his number was incorrect, but putting on a pretty good show, and you know, one of those new drivers that is immediately making an impact, just like Batby and Eitzen are right now. And you know, there have been some pretty familiar names in command of this series the last few seasons, but there are definitely some fresh faces that are going to be standing on podiums this year.
It's the top 10 alone. John Hall, it's only his 2nd truck season. Same for Joshua Balliet in 9th. Brendan Bowie is in 8th. He's been in this series, but maybe a little new to the truck series this season. But Sebastian Marin in 7th. Edward Shearer has stepped up his game. He's in the top 5. Obviously, Batby and Eitzen 1-2. A lot new talent in the series. As we see every other season, we still get new talent every season. This one might be the biggest yet.
Daniel Day in the 61. That was Beckner popping out of line, I think, again.
That was Cortez.
So similar looking truck, silver and red. Daniel Day.
Same scheme, yes.
Oh, same scheme.
Well, yeah, Hendrick County, they all got that scheme on right now.
Oh, change for the lead, and Batby goes to the bottom of Eitzen through turn 1, and just like taking candy from a baby. I guess Batby taking the candy.
He's just going to run with it here, get the track position, and maybe pull away. We figured the 70 was pushing his stuff, running that higher line early in the run. But now you're going to see Jake Nichols. He's going to go to that way high line. Probably going to try to take advantage of the 70 falling off a little bit here and get him into turn number 1. We're going to see this big crossover move used a lot tonight. It looks like Shear and Weiland are going at it as well. So we got 2 battles at the same time. And also that contact with Cortez, that was between him and Brad Slaughter. And they had words over the chat from what I heard. But Nichols up to 2nd. Weiland still looking for 4th.
There's that 21 up the outside. Really good run in the early stages here for the 21. Those sponsors on the side of that truck. There's John Hall continuing his charge forward. I mean, he went backwards initially, all the way back to 13th place, but he's about halfway back to where he was.
And we have about 23 or so green flag laps on the tires, and you're starting to see comers and goers. Starting to see that 70 fall off, but we're also starting to see Shearer fall back. He was in 4th. Weiland got to his outside. He's already all the way back to 7th and might lose another position to Sebastian Marin.
A little side-by-side back down the back straightaway here, and exciting around Drew Jua, Ricky Springer, Joshua Balliet, and more. And Brandon Bowie in the 54. Who has
Springer. Caution. Crash in turn 4. Jeremy Miller's involved. Danny Ware crashed as well. And Drew Trader, huge 3-truck incident.
Yeah, big mess out of turn 4. Caution's out for the second time, and Drew Trader's truck is absolutely demolished.
As is, that 30 looks pretty totaled as well. And that was at the back of the field. Miller was running 35th. Danny Ware, Drew Trader were outside the top 30 as well. We'll get a replay here somewhere out of turn number 4. We know these two were involved. Shanna Sogak in it as well.
25 going to slip up here. Oh, right here. He's. Oh,
it's
the
a
98 was already crashing. Oh, the 25 took
Man.
a hellacious impact.
Wow, yeah, that was the 98. Danny Ware was the first one sideways and all that.
Oh, he was already in the wall and got hit in the driver's side door. And the 25, that's a big hit there.
And he went right back into traffic, so there was nothing Miller or Trader could do. We'll see what happened to Danny Ware. He's looking to be inside. I think it's a 20 of Ryan Swan. Swan shuts the nose off.
69 is going to turn him hard into the outside wall. Big hits there for everybody.
How unfortunate for Trader and Miller. They had nothing they could do. And they looked like Peachin. We kind of saw that. We've seen that a lot at mile and a half when you're pinching. That can easily happen. You just right rear the guy. That's what I don't think Peachin meant to do that at all, but that can easily happen. And Trader just got clipped, and the wall is not very inviting.
No, that's a bad impact, bad angle for sure. Those trucks are going to be pretty heavily torn up. It's actually amazing that there were only really 3 or 4 trucks involved in that. And pit lane was a busy place. Casey Lakatos rolled or didn't even go through it. I think he just rolled straight through. Matthew Batby's going to come out leading the way, and we'll have to reshuffle their order here in a moment. Everybody took 4 tires, though. That's telling.
Yeah, not very surprised. We did see some 2 tires, but not quite what we're going to see. And it looks like we got a speeding penalty. It looks like the 32 Sebastian Marin's going to go to the rear of the field. And Jake Matheson.
Oh, gosh, that's going to be tough.
Oh, no, that is 2 really fast trucks going to the rear. And after what we just saw, that's going to be tough to come back through that and have to go through all that. Looks like David Weishart gets the free pass. He was 14 laps down from caution number 1, but he is repaired back on track. But that's huge for the 52 to be going down the order, as well as the 52, as I think the 30 just blew up.
Yeah. And he's not had the best luck the last couple of nights, has he?
He hasn't had the best luck in the lower series. He had a horrid Pro Series season, and hopefully things turn around in the other 2 series as he conveniently finds his pit stall, so that's good. But it's been definitely a rough start to the year.
Yeah, he got right-reared last night in a retaliatory
context. By the way, did you know who right-reared him?
Yes.
You know, who he is as a whole? Yeah,
yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I had no clue.
I mean, I would consider that almost a rite of passage to some extent.
I don't know. I don't know about that, but...
Yeah, I mean, that was an ugly one for sure. And that was a big hit that he took, too. But
yeah, 3, and like you said, crazy. Only 3 trucks seemingly involved in that. Miller, Trader, and Danny Ware, as well as Peachin, who was kind of maybe part of the cause of that. But didn't look intentional. But obviously with the new caution point system, we'll see if it's shared fault or single fault on the 69. We had no EOLs or anything, or anything tonight, so no one had penalty points built up going into tonight to the point where they needed a penalty. I know me and Adam Cabot are getting EOLs next week, so that's been great for us so far. A little too rowdy.
Yeah, you guys, as of late. Well, Casey Lakatos is going to peel off to pit lane. He's gotten a couple laps led. Eric Wineland runs P5. It will be P4 for the restart here. And lining back up for a restart will be lap 33. We're past the 1/4 mark of this race, so assuming we go 50 laps from here, that puts us to about 40 laps to go. So you can make it now on one more stop if this race were to go green.
Yeah, we'll definitely see what drivers want to do. I don't think the fall-off's going to be all right as the sun sets, but we're probably not going to see it enough to the point where you want to do an extra stop, because the pace, like we said, is similar to what the Cup cars were doing last night. So we pit with just about 90 to go. We'll probably see drivers pitting around the 75 to 85 range. But just like last night, you'll almost certainly see some drivers trying to push the fuel as far as they can, try to catch that caution.
I think the other thing to consider is that it's probably not even really going to come down to just one more pit stop, because we'll likely get a few more yellows along the way. So then it becomes rolling the dice if you land on the right caution mathematically to pit on, based on what happens before and after. So those are all things to consider as we get back to racing here in just a moment's time. Lap 33 of 120. Matthew Batby, Jake Nichols, Eitzen, Wineland, John Hall are your top 5.
And then you got a few drivers behind there. You got Shear, Lakatis, who's Lakatis at the back, but you got No, Bowie, Jua, and Balliet all there as well.
There might have been some drama on the pit lane as well. We'll talk more about that in a little while. Green flag, and we're back underway. The 73 did not get going. That outside lane, sleeping on the restart.
Yeah, and he's going to have to try to recover from that rather quickly. Gets to the inside, at least the 17 did, as Bowie gets sideways through turns number 1 and 2 on the top lane, but gathers it up. That'd be back to the front. Yeah,
Bowie did a nice job, I think, in pit lane to kind of come out where he is. If I recall, he was a little bit farther back than that prior to the yellow flag sequence, so made up a little bit of ground. We'll see if he can pull that momentum forward with him under green flag conditions, as Batby leads the first lap after the restart. Nichols with a big run, though.
Yeah, Nichols just worked up the second. The tires were starting to really play into his favor, I would think. But we'll see. Eitzen was a very good short run. We'll see if he wants to try to get that lead back. It's getting tight off the corner. Ricky Springer up the track. They're going to be 3 wide out of the corner with one of these other Hendry County Motorsports Park entries. I believe, I couldn't tell who that one was, but side by side they sorted out before the entry to the corner.
Yeah, it appears to be the 61 of Daniel Day.
Daniel Day, yes.
And he's alongside. There's Ricky Springer in that 51.
Also trying to make sure I say that right. Hendry County Motorsports Park.
Yes.
I call it the Simrock Market Replay last week because I didn't know the sponsor, so I tried my best not to do that again. But Day's one of those similarly schemed trucks, trying to get to the front. He's worked his way up a little bit. Ricky Springer's been sideways a lot of tonight as well. He got really loose at the end of that run, and he was really, it seemed to me, he was really trying to hold on.
Leading lap 35, Jake Nichols has found Matthew Batby. He's going to find the right rear quarter panel into turn 1, drive in there on top of him. But Batby throttles up mid-turn, and the Hendry County Silverado pulls clear again.
You could tell these two are both fighting for the clean air right now. You could see Nichols send it hard into turn number 1, but at the same time, Batby kind of backed up the entry, expecting that, and ended up throttling through the center of the corner to get back clear of the 73. He does not want Nichols to get his right rear quarter panel, or else that battle's going to be side by side for at least a half a lap, maybe more, as these two, you can see how hard they're trying to get the lead away from one another. Eitzen's already half a second back of the battle.
And they're all learning new things here as well. I mean, obviously these drivers probably run these in official sessions, but with this new aero model, the first time in the league on just a traditional oval, there's a lot to learn about how this truck is going to react in the air, trailing another truck. And Nichols still flat to the floor here a couple laps after the restart. Let's see what happens down here in turn 1.
What this has done is really it's kept the lead packed, the leaders, maybe the top 10, from being stacked up, a little bit more spread out, not as much battling inside the top 10. I think the first battle was really for 8th position, Drew Jua with Ricky Springer on his right rear quarter panel. And they were so close, thought they were going to make contact, but Springer couldn't get to the quarter panel there.
Look at this mess. Daniel Day, Rafe Slate, Reese Schaefer, JT Poole back here. This is a bit of a nightmare. Traffic jam.
JT Poole with a driver on his bumper as well, with the lead Vincent Cortez on his outside. Hearns worked his way up. He's one of those open trucks in the field tonight. All the way 26th. He's up about to the top 20, just barely. That's how hard it is to get through the field here tonight.
Big moves being made at the front of that pack as well. Vincent Cortez, another one of those prolific. That's probably not the word I'm looking for. One of the many
He's fast.
Hendry County Motorsports Park trucks, 28th up to 19th. Basically as high as he's run all day, moving forward. Look at the yaw that the 07 and Schaefer has, just hanging that right rear out in the. This is kind of a truck that was designed, you know, at the tail end of the Side Force era, Connor. So you're going to drive it at a bit of a yaw to kind of get all the air to load up that right side panel.
Yeah, and it's definitely a lot different the way you want to drive it compared to last night. You really couldn't end up being on the right rear last night. Tonight, you don't want to be on the right rear because you're going to wear it out, but it's not like the Cup car where if you get a little bit sideways, it's over. You can handle it and drive it off the right rear just a little bit, but it's still not what you want to do as far as long-run tire wears. It almost looked like Bowie Wineland had a little contact out of 4 last time by. Let Bowie get the position for now as Seth Knowles making his way to the front. He's cracked the top 5 for the first time tonight as Wineland falls back a bit, and you can see how hard these.
Oh, Shane trouble on turn 4. Shane Wolf.
Crash.
And everybody's in it back here. Caution's out.
Huge. Jake Matheson's involved. He has damage. I believe the 69 has damage.
Wow, and this is, if the 54 is in it, I mean, this is what we talked about, the potential.
52. It's like Beckner might have had a piece of that as well. That looked like at least half a dozen, if not a dozen. That was a lot of trucks.
Let's go back and see if we can find out what triggered it. And there's it's going to happen in the center of 3 and 4 here, I think.
Spencer Burns makes it 3 wide on the 6 and 83. Garrett Grant chops the nose of a 06, and they kind of just come together 3 wide, and Shane Wolf gets turned. Garrett Grant, he got air last week as well. He almost flipped again. So there actually might not have been as many trucks as I thought there were, but still a crazy crash because like Jonathan Evans spun at the same time.
There's a lot of trucks in it. They just didn't. Not a lot of them hit that hard. It seems like, which I guess is you'll take. But look at that 5.
Look at this.
4 tires off the ground, skating. I mean, that thing almost took flight. And again, just off the nose of the 06, it gets it sideways so quickly.
Matheson had a big hit. This is 2 weeks in a row for the 5. And once again, he kind of survives it a little bit here, more than he probably should have, but he does hit the wall a little bit, but that should be fine. But then right here it gets tight with one of the Toyotas, and I think he did get hit there. Couldn't tell, one of the Simrat Market trucks.
Kyle Bartles also involved in this. There's the 52 getting turned around, 83's in the wall. Yeah, so just a lot of scattering. I don't think there was a lot of catastrophic impacts, but certainly a mess.
We do have more pit stops, but not too many of the leaders. Really just everyone who was in the crash or at the back. Look at this mess. I thought there was a dozen trucks in it, but somehow there weren't.
Is that Shane Wolf that got air off the fence?
Looked like he
right there
did. Yeah, right there.
Oh, right there. That was what I was talking about.
That was Sean Peachin. That's where the 69 truck got a lot of his damage. Bam, right there.
Gosh. I don't know what it is, but that whatever modifications they did to the truck certainly makes it feel lighter in the air. But that kind of impact where the rear end kind of goes up and rotates, I feel like I've seen a lot of that kind of wreck. So bravo to iRacing for that. But more trucks junked in that one.
That was not the only contact the 69 has had tonight either.
Yeah, now there was, let's go back because we've got time here under this yellow. Let's go back to the earlier incident that happened and involved the 98. And let's follow this around. This is going back down to pit lane.
Looked like he was doing a little hunting before he went out of the race. You could see when someone's driving up like this, they are trying to get to someone or something. And right here, it looks like he's going to let Sean Peachin know he didn't like that.
I will say that he did a decent job making it look somewhat accidental. He didn't steer towards him. He just kind of let him cross his nose and oops.
He almost made, I think Tyler Hallman, he almost made him miss his stall as well.
Yeah.
Just Hannah Sogak missed his stall poorly there. You could see him doing a 20-point turn trying to get in.
That was lap 30. 15 laps later, another yellow. This time for a pretty sizable wreck out of turn 4 with Shane Wolf at the heart of it. Garrett Grant in there as well. Matthew Batby leads the way. He's been pretty strong so far tonight, and remember Travis Beckner involved in that earlier collision. Travis Beckner, where is he at now? 32nd. Wonder how his repairs are doing.
The truck itself looks rather clean now. I don't think he might not have been involved in that last crash. He might have just avoided it, but because the truck does look all right now, but he's still got so long to go to get back to the front. And, you know, most of the time with the new damage model, it will get fully repaired, but sometimes it won't happen. It really depends on, it's the suspension damage that is really sensitive, and that's what it's really going to come down to. If his suspension's hurt, that might deter him from getting back to the front.
Well, let's talk to him. Travis Beckner for Low Dollar Racing in the 28, involved in a wreck earlier. Travis, not a great start to the night, but seems like you've got most of that damage repaired. How is that truck to drive?
Yeah, we got all the damage fixed right here under the pit stop this past time by, so we're gonna see how it goes right here. I think we still got a good enough truck to get up there, get back in the top 10. Long race. Probably gonna have some more wrecks here, and yeah.
There's a whole bunch of these Henry County Motorsports trucks that are in the field. Matthew Batby's in one of them leading the way. How do you feel about the chances for one of those team trucks going to victory lane tonight?
I feel really good. I got a solid team over here at Low Dollar Racing, and my buddies over at Elite Entertainment. Yeah, I think we might get one of these Hendry County trucks in victory lane tonight, whether it's Batby, Sebastian Marin, Vincent Cortez, or Daniel Day or I. So, I mean, heck, even Brandon Bowie's up there. He's got Hendry County Motorsports Park on his truck as well. So,
all right, Travis. Good luck to you coming to the restart. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
All right, Travis Beckner giving us the insights there. Sounds like he's got all that damage repaired, Connor, so that means that he can move forward and get back in the fight.
But he's going to have to do it at least in a decent amount of time. Running out of time, I wouldn't say we're running out of time that much, but being all the way outside the top 30 on the restart, we've only got one guaranteed pit stop left, and we're almost to 70 laps to go. So a lot of those drivers at the back, like Matheson and Beckner specifically, they're going to have to hustle.
Working lap 47, and I want to make it seem like we're running out of time, as you just pointed out, but 38 minutes is not all that long. This will go by fairly quickly if we can get some laps under green here and get some green flag laps passing through the night here. Here we go, green flag, lap 47, and Batby again, a strong restart in that 89.
Yeah, Nichols did not go. It's a rare mistake from the 73. He's going to lose 2 positions here to the 70, and also Seth Knoll might get by. He's going to pinch him tight in 1 and 2. 2 teammates going at it. We're 3 wide already out of the corner. That's Day, Slate, and John Hall with Shear in the mix.
These are crazy restarts here. It makes me nervous when we go 2-3 wide. There's Vincent Cortez in the 23 on the bottom of the racetrack. Brad Slaughter Jr. in the 81's back there as well. And Rafe Slate is sandwiched 3 wide, banging doors with Daniel Day.
Day into the grass. I tried that last night. Didn't work for me. There was sideways at the back as well with maybe the 26, but they saved it, and Day went a little joyride in there.
Funny, you just look calm, cool, and collected, check the mirrors, keep going, everything's fine after racing somebody so aggressively down the front straightaway. That was fun to watch. And just ahead of him.
Again, Valiant split the middle. He had to back out of that. He almost got into Wyland and Van Abel. That would have been a crash if he went through with that.
We saw that kind of crash last night late in the race where there was just 2 trucks that had about 3/4 of a truck width between them, and someone tried to sneak up the inside or middle of them, and it didn't work.
Another one of my cars, so I'm not going to comment on that any further. They called it a racing deal, though. That's what happens at the end of the race, especially, I think, had it been the end of the race, Balliet would have stayed in there and probably caused a crash, but we're not even halfway yet, so smart on him to not do that. He just chopped the nose of Edward Scherer, though, out of the corner.
Working lap 50 this time through, and it does start to string out after 10 or 15 laps, but in the first moments after a restart, first 2 or 3, it is pretty frantic. Matthew Batby leads Heitzen by 1/10 and a quarter. Nichols, Bowie, Knoll, your top 5.
Once again, Heitzen got to that second position. It looks like he's going to try to hunt for the race lead on the short run yet again. But I think Batby's going to try to push a little bit harder to keep that lead, just like he had to do with Jake Nichols in the previous run. Bowie's up the 4th, Seth Knoll in the 5th. Springer, Jua, Van Abel, Wineland, Balliet are the top 10.
For top 10 are basically singled out. We're still 2 and 3 wide back here. Sebastian Marin still working after his pit lane speeding violation. P26 right now and still recovering.
Seidenfeld went to the apron to avoid something right there. As like you said, we're still 2x2, a number of lanes deep. Vincent Cortez just had a wiggle off the bumper of the 50. There's a bunch of drivers trying to get to the front in a hurry, and it's just not possible with the amount of lanes that you have at the beginning of the run. And those lanes might shrink a little bit. Your options might shrink as the sun sets a little bit more here. Once those lights come on, it might get tough.
Whew, just a couple trucks get very tight here out of turn 2. Rafe Slade, again, kind of the nucleus to a lot of this energy mid-pack.
Whoa, God, I thought Hall was hitting the wall. Nope, that's just the line he's been running all night long, and he's made it work. He's gotten runs off the corner. Oh, got a little, maybe trouble. Got tight again at around the, that's 20 Ryan Swan off track again.
I don't know if he was loose or if he chose to go down there or what. Here's a look at the replay. The Hendry County Motorsports Park replay. Gets the apron, takes that thing for a wild ride through the grass on the front stretch, but keeps the truck straight.
For Lakatos, Valadez went 3 wide for a moment, but they sorted that out. That battle for third's getting a little heated. Nichols is going to get that position back. Bowie's going to stay 4th. Seth Knowles trying to work over the 54.
Ricky Springer in the top 10. Eric Wineland still in there as well. And Cameron Hearn in the 67. Haven't talked a lot about him today. Started fairly deep in the field, 26th. Is quietly moving his way forward in that number 67 Chevrolet Silverado. He was a front-running contender in seasons past in the Truck Series.
We got that battle. We got a battle at the front. Bowie and Noel are pretty much dead even out of the corner, side by side at the front, as Eidson's not letting Batby get away either. But Noel's kind of like Seth Knoll did last night. Not the best of qualifying efforts, just methodically worked his way up, and now he's in the top 5. He's gained 11 positions since the start, as I'm seeing someone way at the back running the Kyle Larson line. I think that's Chris Seidenfeld just trying something.
Well, there's something to be said for experimentation, right? If you're not going anywhere by now, you're 55 laps in. You should know what works and doesn't work. So if you're not going anywhere, try that outside lane. And there's no one up there. Bonus points. The 07 is Schaefer chasing that truck up the hill. But I'm all for experimenting with places that you haven't seen anyone run just yet. You might unlock a little something. It's a trade-off for sure. You're going to use up some tire. But look at how clear this racetrack is. If you can make this work, Connor, you're going to look like a superhero.
Oh, he certainly would, but it's also risky for Valadez and Rafe Slade because they're probably not even looking for someone to be on their outside at that point in the corner, so that's the risk of doing that. He almost ran to the back of someone right there doing it. I can imagine the drivers who run Texas in real life, they'd be seeing this, they'd be losing their minds.
Well, it's like walking to your mailbox to get the mail and then you get hit by the space shuttle. You just weren't expecting it. Where'd that truck come from on the outside lane? There's not supposed to be trucks out there, and he's going to do it again.
Still trying, he might even get to the outside of Rafe Slade here. Ooh. He's cutting low on the exits of 2 as well, but it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's working. I mean, he passed those 2 trucks from the outside, so, you know, this is what I'm talking about. It might be short-term gain, long-term loss, but it's worth trying something.
But when you're at the back, who cares about the long-term loss when you're a little bit further back? He's only in 20th position, but he obviously wants to be higher up, so he's going to try that and probably not care about the fall-off at all. Once again, just look at the ground he gains through the center on the 9 and 61. Oh, we got to be careful. Make sure you're 3 wide. Whoa. They knew.
But look, I mean,
just look at that run.
That thing looks like it's got solid rocket booster strapped to it, doesn't it?
It's fair. I don't know if he's one of those drivers that pit last yellow, maybe fresh tires, but still, the fact that it's even working at all.
Well, he does.
It's crazy.
Yeah. He does have 14-lap fresher tires than a lot of those trucks around him, but Jonathan Evans has fresh tires too, and he's not looking that spectacular. So keep an eye on the 45 and others making progress on that outside lane. And look at this Hornet's nest here.
3 wide for like the 9th position. Wineland's in the middle of it, starting to fall back. Lakatos is up to the front. Wineland just shut the door on Balliet. I think Lakatos to 50 might have fresh tires as well. Not fully sure, but we know he went to the back after, you know, getting that lap led, so he might have some fresh rubber here as Jake Nichols back to 2nd.
Yeah, it takes it away from Trey Eitzen. All the while, the 54, Brandon Bowie, tried to shoot the middle there on Lakatos and John Hall, who's now taking the bottom for an answer this time. That 45 truck is making progress, isn't he?
He really is. He's almost up into the top 15 right now as we're almost 2-3 wide again. We'll see what he can do through 3 and 4 as it's still John Hall pushing that high line through 3 and 4, but we really... Oh, crash! Oh. Huge! Joshua Balliet almost up and over. Seidenfeld got a big piece of that. Wineland's in it. I think Mason Kane's in it. Another huge crash out of 4.
Wow. Where did that come from?
Oh, perfect timing on the onboard. Not perfect timing for Chris Seidenfaden, though.
Wow.
Balliette's the first one I saw sideways, and he almost went up and over. Him and Eric Weiland were really tight to each other.
Well, let's go back and watch this a little slower so we can kind of see how it precipitates.
Oh,
so
they're already hitting.
Yeah, they're already making contact with each other, and 26.
Same exact thing.
Yeah, just washing the 21 up the hill. He's just going to get turned and then hard into the outside wall, and then they just. I mean, how many trucks?
Look at him float.
Yeah, and then the 26.
Shearer. There's Mason Kane.
JT takes a big hit in the outside there.
Yeah, that's a big hit for both of those guys. But it was the exact same thing we saw with the 69 and Danny Ware, just a little later out of the corner, and it's so much more packed up that there was even less anyone could do. And that was a hard hit for Poole. I don't know how Spencer Burns got through that, but it looked like he did. But it's the same thing. When you don't want to run that high of a line, you're going to be pinching the driver to your inside, but that's almost always going to be what happens when you pinch that hard. And he's just not giving Balliette any room, really. Look at this. The car just looks like it floats, and it's not even done.
Wow. And then one more time with the 45 of Seidenfaden, if I can find where he is on the timing screen with everyone on pit lane. 36 at the moment. Here's what we saw again. Let's go inside.
And he's not going to see really any of this until it's too late, kind of like how we saw it, because it looks fine from this angle, and then all of a sudden, bam.
I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. That truck is pretty well destroyed. So, is that our third yellow tonight?
Fourth or fifth.
Fourth. As we've had, all right, let's shake this out for you here because it's a little confusing. So, pit stops have happened. Your top two trucks have stayed out on the racetrack. They pitted on the most recent caution. Everybody else, and I mean basically everybody, came to pit lane and took 4 tires with the exception of Spencer Burns, Pacey Wygant, and that's it. Those two took 2 tires. Everyone else was on 4. So this is going to shake things up a little bit. We've just passed halfway. We're still in the realm of one more pit stop to go if we go green to the end from here. So that is how things are going to pan out. And we've got, I would say, a lot of trucks kind of in the destruction zone. Last night, Connor, we had a lot of drivers running even late in the race after all those wrecks. But we've got at least Miller on down completely out, and then that's 4 trucks, and then another 5 or 6 with significant damage.
Yeah, Daniel Day got a big piece of that. Balliette is on pit road from that. Edward Scherer, who is running, Edward Scherer and Eric Weiland, who are both running top 10 most of this race, are pretty much totaled as well. But like you said, this does put us pretty much we're still basically in one-stop territory, as you can see that hit again. But also, it's still going to be tight on fuel. We are going to get to the point where you might even see some drivers top off here and maybe try to stretch that fuel just a little bit longer. We'll just have to see who wants to decide to do that. I can't imagine anyone in the top half of the field would want to try that, but those drivers at the back who maybe haven't had good days but have also survived the chaos, I would say some of them will at least try to top off and maybe try to make something happen if it goes green.
Well, we've got a moment. Here's kind of the dramas that we've seen so far. This was on lap number 5. Travis Beckner getting turned into the outside wall, and he went for a bit of a ride off the bumper of the number 9, and of course the 33 of David Weissart also involved. Lap 29, this was a wreck heading off into turns 3 and 4. This is the 30 of Jeremy Miller and the 25. And this was a big, nasty wreck with because the 98 was involved in a crash up the road with the 69. Then 25 takes a huge impact to the outside wall. Then lap 42, about 12 laps later, this was the James Shainwolf centered collision from just a lot of trucks in too small of a space. And this was
not enough room.
Yeah, this wadded up. I mean, all of these have been out of the backstretch or turn 4, interestingly. And then, of course, our most recent collision with Eric Wineland, JT Poole, and a handful of others.
And the thing about turn 4 is, I think part of it is that it is such a fast corner where you're not, because we've seen drivers run at the high line, but for the most part, that driver on the outside, if you're going too wide, that driver's going to be pinching you down to the white line. And when you're going such high speeds, you have less maneuverability to make that work. So sometimes the pinches get too hard, and that's exactly what can happen off the corner. That's the second or third, it's really the third time we saw it happen. One of those times it was just kind of 3 wide, but that's twice, 2x2, just didn't work out of the corner.
Ricky Springer getting set for the restart here. And a whole bunch of trucks are still on pit lane. Wyland on down, have been down there almost for 5 minutes. David Weishart is back rolling, but 13 laps down to the leader. Jonathan Evans, after winning Daytona last week, leads us back to the green. Changes lanes before the start-finish line, though, Connor. Is that going to get looked at?
I don't think so. It's really basically iRacing rules. Once you go, you should be good. So I think Evans is fine, clear for the lead. But you can see those pressure tires already coming through. Bappy split Grant and Spencer Burns through the middle there. We're already seeing 3 wide down the back 2 different times.
Yeah, this is going to get pretty interesting. Trey Heitzen in the middle, entering turn 3, and the 5 of Garrett Grant gets kind of pipped up the hill. Very tight quarters out of turn 4.
We're still 3 wide. Noel's going to go through the middle. It seems like no tires is not the move. Some of those drivers on 2 tires, like Burns, able to hold fine. But here comes another driver, Jua, forcing the middle. Made teammates almost make contact. Burns almost into Jake Nichols and Seth Noel. It seems like once he got put on that off that bottom line, it pretty much cost him his track position.
Oh, we're 4 wide in the background. Rafe Slate's in the center of it.
Jua with a big run to the bottom. Of course, Noel and Nichols back off the track. It's going to let the 13 slide his way in front of the 73. That was tight.
Yeah, everyone's just really getting aggressive now. And it seems like not pitting for tires has not worked. So make a note for that later. You're definitely going to need 4 Mr. Feelgoods at the tail end of this race if you get a late race restart. Crash back straightaway. 67 of Hearn.
It looked like maybe Bowie was I don't know who else may have gotten involved, but it looked like the 67 took the biggest hit.
Yeah, they were 3 wide.
He's on the bottom, Bowie. On the outside. Yeah. Oh, they might have pushed 4 wide and ran out of room.
Well, that green, whoever's in the green truck moves down, but the 00.
AC Wygent.
So why does that happen? So he just
gets
loose and then moves across the 54.
He has the 6 on his rear bumper, and when you're already kind of squirrely off the corner, you got someone all up on your rear bumper, it's going to take the air off and just slip you sideways. That's exactly what happened there. Just had nothing. He couldn't handle that at all, and Bowie and then into her and just the chain reaction.
I want to give Bowie a lot of credit here, though. Watch the 54 after the contact. He's sliding to the right. He could have taken out 5 more trucks right there. He gets split 4 wide and somehow still hangs onto it. That was impressive stuff, I have to say. Tyler Hallman got a pretty good view of this. Let's see what his onboard looked like.
This will make it interesting, too, because it's going to push us right at our fuel window. We'll see what he sees. Nothing, really. Not until the 67's in the wall.
Yeah. And I don't think the 67 knew what was happening until he already hit the wall. Just no time to react. You get that gut feeling, and then boom, you got a safer barrier in your windshield.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Just hope you're not in it when it does happen out of nowhere. And fortunately for him, he was able to get through it. So caution on lap 67 caused by the number 67 hitting the wall. And we did have some drivers at the back top off for fuel. Garrett Grant, who was already dropping back, he pit. Pacey Wygent, who kind of came off the top on that yellow. He's also going to top off. We talked about maybe 50 laps on fuel. This is going to make that really close.
Yeah, I would think that you're going to get a lot more opportunities. I wouldn't force a pit stop to happen now and then try to make it to the end. We just saw what happened if you didn't have reasonably fresh tires. So I would be, if we're going to get these yellows what appears to be every 12 to 15 laps, I would certainly be planning on waiting longer in the night to make my final stop. Now, if we could get a green flag run to the end, in that case, it'd be better to pit now. But I think the trend shows us that we're more likely to get some yellows.
Certainly looks like that so far. We did had some decent runs, had maybe about close to 20 laps earlier on, from like lap 10 to lap 28, and that's kind of been the longest run so far. They really haven't gotten halfway in a run so far as you know, as a full fuel run. So still waiting on that, but we're running out of time to do so because, like we said, at this point, we're pretty much a full fuel stint away from the finish. And you only had a handful of drivers top off on fuel, like the 5 of Garrett Grant. So it's going to be interesting to see what the driver strategies are, because if this goes green to about lap 100, that's when these drivers at the front, if they're not confident on fuel, that's when drivers are going to start to panic and think they might be in trouble.
Well, let's talk with one of the drivers that's been up front all night long, was up front last night as well, Jake Nichols in the number 73. Jake, how is it up there? It seems like we've got, you know, fairly short runs at the moment. How is your number 73 609 Motorsports Silverado doing?
The truck's pretty good. We pushed it to its limits a little bit because I'm trying to get used to this truck. You know, I'm so used to the next gen that, and especially recently the truck got updates, so I haven't really been in a race position yet. So for what my expectations were, I feel like I'm running way better than I thought I would. I noticed testing with teammates for Road to Pro in this truck that I would use way more right rear than everybody else, but so far in this race I've been even with everyone. So we're looking that it goes green at some point here and just goes green to the checkered. I think we got really good long run pace. We just have to get to the long run, but it should be a wild show with the track getting no sunlight on it now. I don't think it's gonna be all gas, no brakes. So we're probably gonna put on a show, probably have some wrecks, and hopefully end up having a good finish for you guys.
We've seen some drivers kind of testing the upper grooves, especially in 3 and 4, and even some trying in 1 and 2, way up against the outside wall. Has that kind of been possible at all for you, or is it really just those bottom 2 or 3 lanes that you have maneuverability?
I was really liking it that one run we had in 3. I started using it in 3 and 4 more, and then caution came out right after. But I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna stay with it. Maybe if we go long enough here on the run, you might see people trend higher and higher, but with the track cooling off, it might hurt that a little. But I mean, you'll see me, if it goes green here for a little while, you're gonna see me go up first, probably. At least one of the first few. I've been running that second groove, third groove around 3 and 4 most of the time, as much as you can without really burning tire off. But hopefully it widens out. You like to see that because, you know, be able to move out of dirty air a little bit, create a run, and actually be able to battle for position here.
Well, we'll let you get back to work. 49 laps remaining here on this restart. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And Jake Nichols running 4th in that 609 truck here, Connor, and interesting that he's going to tell us his playbook that give it a couple green flag laps, he's going to the outside.
Well, hopefully none of the other teams are listening, because they're going to take that to the bank and be ready to get up there first. Specifically John Hall, I would think he's going to get up there before anyone else. But we'll see how early Jake wants to push it.
Well, 49 laps to the end of this race. About 26 minutes of racing if we go green from here. And on the outside edge of the fuel window for those that just pit. Otherwise, you still owe us a pit stop. Green flag, and Matthew Batby is away. He has been nailing those restarts tonight in that restart zone.
And just another well done one by him. It's going to put Drew Jua the second. Eitzen didn't really get the best restart because of that. Knoll on the inside got really sideways trying to get past the 70. We're going to be 3 wide. Here comes Michael Van Abel, 3 wide.
95's making his move on the bottom of the racetrack and into turn 3. And way up the hill goes that 73 already. Just leaving space.
They're gonna. They saved it that time, but once again, pinching hard, got them almost in trouble. That's gonna let Nichols clear both of those drivers.
Yeah, that was really dicey stuff. Ricky Springer's up into 7th. Right behind him, Travis Beckner at the 28, running 9th now. Can you believe that after the crash he had on lap 5?
I can't believe it because it looked pretty totaled, but it's back up to speed, and he's still got a chance at this one, no doubt about it. But the intensity, it's already been intense, but it's going to pick up even more as the sun goes down, the lights come on, and the race is going to get even more wild, especially the restarts. That pace, the speed is picking up every single lap until it gets completely dark on this racetrack. You're going to see these speeds and these times climb higher and higher. And
the grip level is going to come up, maybe give you some options. Because your truck might handle a little better, but it's going to take away some of the multi-groove truck in the wall. And
Swan.
Yeah, Ryan Swan's 20. It was a green and black truck.
We're side by side to have a lead at the same time. Drew Jua looked to the right rear. He's trying to hang up there, and he's going to be able to do it. So this is where he wants to be. He wants to control the line the 89 makes here, and it's going to let Trey Eitzen get into this battle.
Side by side into turn 1. All Chevrolets in the top 10 except for the Toyota of Eitzen and the Ford of John Hall.
And that's going to make the pass work. Drew Jua gets the lead away. Eidson wanted to get to the bottom, just barely got, I would say he just barely got, I don't know, stable enough to make that work because he almost got sent to the inside wall. He looked to the inside, Jua didn't. He went to the high side, the 7 did, or the 13 did. It's just, especially now, once the speeds and the grip level picks up, that bottom is going to become even harder to pass.
There was a bit of shuffling on the back straightaway that almost resulted in disaster. But they got it sorted back out. I think every time we go down the backstretch, it opens up. It's like a highway drive for a few seconds, and you're going to see which lane of traffic is moving quicker and try to dart across the lanes. And without a turn signal, it's hard to kind of know everyone's next move. Drew Jua leads the way. Very, very strong night last night in the Cup Series race, and now leading his first laps of the night. Now his second here at Texas in the trucks.
And that shuffling down the back a few laps ago, that was Rafe Slate tapping the back of Vincent Cortez. Cortez has kind of been part of that shuffling twice now, so he's had a little bit of a struggle tonight, in my opinion, but hasn't been much he could do about it, as Jua, I think he blinked out a little bit there, but either way, Bappy's still trying to get the lead back, but here comes Seth Knoll for second.
And Jake Nichols has slipped to 6th here. I wonder if that's just the conservative Jake at play there, knowing that this could go green for a while, so why not save a bit, let everyone else burn their stuff up for the moment. We're 3 wide into turn 1. Rafe Slate has just been a nucleus of entertainment. Tonight he's going to get squeezed between the 50 and the 52 onto the back straightaway.
And that's Jake Matheson, and it seems like he got most of his damage repaired, but at least right now it does not look like he has the speed that the 28 got from his damage repairs, so he's struggling a little bit to get back through the field, and that's what one speeding penalty in a field this big can do to you.
That's frustrating. And, especially in a night like tonight where it's so hard to make passes. But if this is a different track, maybe you're not going to worry about that so much. But onto the back stretch, single file again. It's been about 5 laps since the restart, and that's kind of when we maybe a few more laps than that. That's when we see everyone kind of single out.
Oh, we got shuffling to the top, though, Van Abel and Ricky Springer. I don't know if that was a block by the 95 or they just kind of went for the same piece of real estate, but they were bumper to bumper on the exit of turn number 4 there.
51 of Ricky Springer's having a pretty decent night. I'm sure he would really like to get a good result with how much bad luck he has had. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have none at all.
He's just been solidly consistent. He hasn't been at the top 5 battling for the lead yet, but he's been slowly, methodically just keeping his way in the top 10 since he got up there. He started all the way back in 27th, but he got into the top 10 rather quickly, and he's pretty much stayed there all night. He's almost into the top 5. As a matter of fact, he will be if he can complete this pass on the 70. And Trey Eidson, we haven't really seen him outside the top 5 all race, as Noel looks for the lead.
Yeah, that Simrat Market number 1, giving the outside a big run, but couldn't get there in time to keep the overlap on Drew Jua. 40 laps to go. Final third of this race is underway.
And no one knows we're getting close to crunch time, and you want that track position now. With how close fuel is, you're either worrying about it and maybe saving a little bit, or you're just letting it go and maybe banking on maybe a 2-tire gas-only pit stop. It's exactly what these drivers are thinking right now, as Noel's trying to chase down the 13/7 of Jua, but still not able to make it work. We saw the driver of that car, Jua, use the outside to get the lead. I think he knows Noel's going to try to do that and get overlap, but he's going to drive hard to try to make sure the one can't do that.
I like the trend. If we had one of Fox's cool little graphics, you'd see the line trending upward to the highest point right now. Started 15th. The highest he's run tonight is 2nd, where he is at the moment. And you mentioned it's crunch time. This is, you know, if you're relating it to like Daytona last week, 15, 20 laps to go, I think it's similar right now where, wow, big offense and defense from Trey Eidson on Ricky Springer and Jake Nichols.
Yeah, he's not trying to fall any further back, I don't think. He got to clear the 73, then immediately got back to the inside of the 51, but I don't think he's going to like it down there as much. It's going to be hard to pass Ricky Springer, as here comes John Hall to the inside of Jake Nichols for the 7th position. Almost wonder if Jake took a note of the fuel and maybe started laying back, because it's not going forward at all.
Listen to this.
Yeah, that'll do it, I would say.
Yeah, so Jake Nichols is fuel saving. Now, so we have 35 to go from here. So he'd have to go 57 laps on a tank, assuming no full course or no green white checkers.
with 1 yellow as well.
Yeah.
Yes, so that'd be multiple laps. It's going to be tough, but pitting at all is going to, put you down the order. And if everyone else is going to try to make it on fuel, you might have to combat that. As here goes almost 3 wide. Eidson's falling back. John Hall's coming back to the front. Coming up to the front, I should say. He hasn't been top 5 all race either.
Yeah, he started P5, but he hasn't been back here since. He's kind of drifted to the tail end of the top 10 and into the early teens. Listen to Sogak. Now look at his progress today. As low as 42nd place. And here he is battling back, chasing Reese Schaefer, Julian Valadez, and more.
Now I'm just trying to figure out who's trying to save and who isn't. I heard John Hall in the clutch into turn number 1 and 2, so he might be another one trying to stretch the fuel all the way to the final lap. So this is going to be maybe a little closer than what we might have thought. That 1 yellow might have gotten everyone really, really close. The issue with that, the fuel number you had earlier might not be the same fuel number you have now, because like we've been talking about, the times are picking up. You're getting faster. You're on throttle more, so you're going to burn more fuel.
Well, there's still lots of close racing around the track, so I don't want to discount the idea that we could get a yellow, but when you've got truck drivers in fuel-saving mode, the aggression level backs way down, and it kind of increases the opportunities for this to go green. So in one way, while these drivers are having to bank on it going green, they're actually creating it in a more green scenario.
Benable and Knoll almost had contact. I think Benable was trying to get to the outside of the 1 and hit the wall doing it. That was like Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, the All-Star race 14 years ago. God, that hurts. That was 14 years ago, but that's what it looked like.
That was a dramatic moment, wasn't it? He put it in the wall.
At least it wasn't between teammates this time. That's going to hurt Benable a little bit, and it's going to let John Hall have the opportunity to go to 4th.
It's as high as John Hall would have been running all day. Got to 4th previously for a moment. Matthew Batby, though, putting in pretty respectable times. Quickest last lap time is on the left-hand side of the screen. Jewel was a hair faster, but Matt Batby easily 2nd quickest. The only truck drivers that are matching him right now are Sebastian Marin and Jake Nichols.
It's interesting, the difference between Nichols clutching in and John Hall. John Hall does it for like a second in the middle of 1 and 2, where it seemed like Nichols was doing it on entry and then rolling the center with the RPMs as another big move there for position.
It all comes down to, how you're managing that off throttle. I think, if you're letting the engine slow you down, you're going to get that extra rotation. So, having the car be in the revs. The other thing to consider is that I think iRacing is just based on throttle position. But when you factor that, you're not actually fueling the car at all off throttle. It's just free spinning. So clutching only really reduces your rolling drag effectively, the transmission and engine braking. So you're not going to save any more fuel by clutching versus lifting. So as long as you can use the engine braking to help rotate the truck, I don't see why you wouldn't do that.
We'll just have to see what strategy works out, because it doesn't seem like many drivers are clutching in right now, and we're already under 30 laps to go, so you only need to get 30 more laps out of it. And I think, like we're talking about, the aggression rate kind of goes down when you have drivers trying to make it on fuel, because they don't want that caution. And we're starting to see it get more spread out than we've ever seen right now, especially at the front, maybe the front 10 or so. As spread out as we've seen them, 2.5 seconds from Jua to Ricky Springer in 10th.
Well, like I said before, they don't want the yellow, but because of how conservative they're driving to save the fuel, they're purposely, or I guess without really knowing it, they're creating more green scenario than they otherwise would have. If everyone was trying really hard right now and didn't care about fuel, we'd be racing differently and have a bigger chance for a caution. But I think we could run this out to the end under green, and Matthew Batby would like to take the lead away from Drew Jua.
These are the two drivers, you don't know what we're going to see from these two, because it seems like they're not saving at all. As I say that, the 13 kind of just let him go there. So I think being the leader is probably not the best place to be here, because you're setting the pace and everyone else could just follow you and probably save fuel. So I think Jua might just want to follow him in and maybe save fuel on his own, but I can't imagine these two are the best on fuel being at the front. I think second's the best place to be, because you can kind of just follow the leader and probably lift a little earlier than the leader's doing and just save a little bit more.
Yeah, I think if we get a caution right now, though, I want tires. That's only going to be true for another 10 or 15 laps, and then I'm going to be committing to staying out.
One person strategy that I know he's saving fuel. Seth Knoll was battling for the lead in second. He's dropped all the way back to 7th, and he's clutching hard as well. So a lot of drivers are trying to make this work big time.
This
He's
all
on 5 positions and a lot of time to go along with it.
all turns on its head if we get a yellow flag, but if we go green, this could be the winning strategy. Now, Batby might be leaning on the idea that they could get a yellow, but again, you know, if we don't get one and get within the last 10, 15 laps where you know you're not going to pit because it'd be really silly to pit when you're leading the field with 10 laps to go, then what? You haven't saved any fuel in theory, so you're kind of between a rock and a hard place at that point.
That's exactly what they're not hoping for at this point. But it definitely looks like you got some drivers going for it, some drivers not. By the way, quick note from Jacob Bell. The top 5 right now, Matthew Batby, Drew Jua, John Hall, Sebastian Marin, Michael Van Abel. Only one driver in those top 5 has won a race. That's John Hall. Everyone else has not won a truck race. Also, throw Jake Nichols, Seth Bill in there. They haven't won a truck race either. Neither has Trey Eitzen. And obviously, Beckner has. I don't think Schaefer has either.
John Hall driving by Drew Jua for second. They're about 4/10 back from Matthew Batby. Well, I wonder if Batby's kind of giving a false rabbit right now. If he's actually the truck to beat because he is saving some, or if he is just running the tank out of fuel and hoping for the yellow flag.
And we'll just have to see what he does if the 0-3 gets there. I do see someone on the lead lap pitting. I think it's the 6 of Kyle Bartles, and he was in the 16th position, so it's not like he was at the very back. So this is an interesting move, trying to maybe draw some people in, or maybe he just knew he wasn't going to make that fuel number work.
Yeah.
That's interesting, especially just over 20 to go.
This is not a track like Darlington where I like the idea of having an extra pit stop. You know, I don't think that the fall off is significant enough. It's about second and a half, roughly. But at Darlington, you'll see 3, 4, 5 seconds of fall off, and then you can make that extra pit stop work for you. Here at Texas, I don't think that you want to do that. If you have any chance at all of making the end on fuel, you should try.
Yeah, and I think majority of people are going to try to make this work, and they'll probably finish out of fuel. So if he really couldn't make it, then it is what it is. But if that's a pure strategy call, I don't really agree with it, because he's going to be a lap down now. And the fall off right now on this run, John Hall's fastest lap this run was a 30.2. He's 1.6 seconds off that. He'll gain, probably get his lap back, but I don't know if he'll get back to 16th, as here goes Jua falling back again. I think he's went into conserve mode.
Michael Venable on the outside in the 95.
Yeah, Venable, another one I need to learn how to pronounce. He's another one going to the front, and it definitely seems like Jua was leading that entire time and realized that the number was not working out for him.
Yeah, but I think the Jake Nichols strategy of saving a little bit for longer is better than saving a lot for a little bit. We've seen that be true time and time again. Next time by, 20 laps to go, which is only 11 minutes, and Jake Nichols is deep in the clutch down in turn 1. So that tells me that even with the saving he's done, there's still work to do.
Definitely seems like it, and he's having to save as well. Seth Noel must have to save a lot more than him, because he's dropped back even further to 8th. He's really had to slow the pace down, as has so many other drivers inside the top 10.
So at this point, looking at the way that the field is racing, and as a driver, you can't see all this. This is why having some teammates is helpful. I don't see conditions that would lead us to a yellow flag. So in my mind, I'm committing now to trying to make it to the end on fuel. If I'm Matthew Batby and I put myself in a big hole, there's still time to save it if you start now. If you wait any longer, you're in a deep hole.
Jua got so sideways off the 2. I thought he was spinning, but he didn't make it work, as we're seeing John Hall go back to that high line. Definitely trying to get the lead away. He may still be saving, but definitely also trying to push at the same time, which is a hard balance to have under 20 to go and trying to save fuel to the end of the race. But you can see how big of a run he has had. As you can see, the stint laps on the left side of the screen. I believe Garrett Grant topped off on fuel. He's in about the 19th position, so he might be one of the highest up drivers that we know can certainly make it. As a matter of fact, no, it's Pacey Wygen. He's gotten up to 14th. We're pretty confident he can make it on fuel, as can Brandon Bowie, but they're a little further back than they'd want to be.
Yeah, they're 5 seconds back from the race leader. I wouldn't consider that to be all that much, to be honest, because they had pit under the previous yellow.
Oh, is there a spin on pit entry? Sorry, I thought I saw someone sideways on pit entry.
So Ed Scherer Jr. in the 17th. Yeah, you were right. He did spin, although it was already... Well, he was sideways coming out of 4.
I think that was his exit to get out of a leader's way.
And, well, he did just that, didn't he?
That sure did.
Almost took out Seidenfeiden's pit crew in the process, but they haven't been out there for a while. He's 41 laps down.
But like you were saying, it is all right that the 00 is not too far back, because if these drivers have to go into a heavy save, then he can gain a lot more positions, maybe get a top 10 out of this. So he's definitely in the best position out of all those drivers who topped off, and he can maybe charge at the front if these drivers got to go a little harder. But you are starting to see those top 6 or so get away from everyone else. Seth Knoll has really dropped off Jake Nichols.
Yeah, I have to imagine, though, that there's at least a couple of trucks in the top 10 that have saved enough fuel, and most of them are sub 32-second laps right now, and looks like Wygen's still in the low 32s.
Here goes John Hall for the race lead. Got a big run off of turn number 4. He's on the outside.
John Hall looking for it, 31.896. That's a pretty quick lap. He's going to drive around the outside of Matthew Batby, and with 16 laps to go, John Hall is your new race leader.
And we'll see how hard he wants to save or if he wants to pull away at doing this. Like I said, he was doing really weird clutch and coasts in the middle of the corner 1 and 2, and he was only doing it for like 1 second, a split second. So I'm wondering if he's going to do this to try to control the pace or if he's just going to try to pull away. And we'll see if that forces the hand of someone like Jake Nichols to try to push now.
4 drivers in the top 5 that have never won an area race, and the only one that has is leading right now. 3 wide out of turn 2.
Weishart just pit. Venable and Jua going back and forth a little bit here.
Weishart has had a tough night, was involved in that first wreck on lap 5. He is 15 laps down, but he's gained 8 spots since that crash, so it might have been worth it at the end of the day.
I don't know if Batby has the pace right now, but that 32 Sebastian Mayer, and I believe he spun in one of the crashes earlier, but he's back to third, and he's looking for second.
He was one of the drivers that got caught with the pit lane speeding penalty earlier, so he had to drive all the way back through the field from 38th. I don't know that he was involved in a wreck, but he definitely had the pit lane speeding violation. Here he is, P3, and there's the 33 on the bottom with fresh tires driving by.
Go. They kind of got to mess with John Hall a little bit. I think he does want to run the high side, though. It's definitely why he forced the 33, but it kind of let Batby close back in a little bit.
We're getting down to crunch time here. If you haven't saved, you're going to be looking at your black box right now going, uh-oh. We have not planned sufficiently for this. And there are some drivers that know exactly what they're doing. I would like to note that 3 of the fastest drivers in the top 10 are Drew Jua, Jake Nichols, and Seth Knoll. And it was actually Seth Knoll that was just a hair quicker than Nichols the prior lap. At that time, it was Nichols in the 73 that was quicker than everybody ahead of him. But he's 1.5 back from the race lead.
Yeah, that's the issue. If you think you can go, you got to go now, but you're out of laps right now. If everyone's going to start pushing near the end because they think they're good on fuel, it's going to be tough to gain a second and a half in a short amount of time. For Seth Knoll, he's got 3 seconds to go. Almost certainly won't be able to get to the lead doing that unless the guys up the front are just that short somehow, which I highly doubt.
Well, he's within striking distance where if these trucks, any of them run out even for a minute, or they sputter on the backstretch.
We had a crash down the back a little bit. Didn't bring out the yellow. Jonathan Evans got put in the inside wall, then has a decent amount of left side damage.
It didn't spin 90 to the track surface, but he was on the inside of, Nakata's turned left there on exit, got the 9 crossed up.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers are fortunate that wasn't a yellow. He was pretty far along sideways, but not the same luck he had last week.
No, certainly not. He's running down at 27th. Racing giveth and racing taketh away, huh?
That's how it works. That's how funny racing can be. As John Hall's opened up that lead, Sebastian Marin has gotten into second. Batby's starting to really fall back. He might have to do some more saving. All that time in the lead might have hurt him. And that driver who pit, Kyle Bartles, is finally coming to get his lap back.
Yeah, again, I don't think that the strategy for Bartles was really out of a desire to try an overcut, or an extra pit stop. Again, I think you saved that for Darlington or another track with a ton more fall off than this place. But he felt like he needed to, and a lap down in P30 right now. He'd also like a yellow flag just to reset.
Once he gets back lead lap, because that might force everyone to pit, and maybe he could cycle to the front if that works out that way. He's just trying to get stacked up behind Venable for 4th. I think we got 3 drivers in that battle, and 2 of them lapped down in that battle back there, but look how high the groove's gotten. Marin's pretty much mirroring John Hall.
Yeah, the groove's widened out significantly. I think you just got a bit more room to try things now because you're not packed in like sardines when the field's spread out this far. I mean, I say this far, but everyone's still basically within a half a lap each other, even this late into a run.
I tell you what, Marin looks a little faster than Hall. He closed in even more there, almost within a tenth. As this battle 3 wide, I don't even know if any of this is for position between the lap trucks. You got Miller in there and the 20 of Swan in there, and you got Peach in, and this is getting tight. Oh, sideways, 13 sideways, saved it though.
Yeah, Drew has just got trucks everywhere. And
Yes.
Jake Nichols 1.8 back, so he's actually dropped distance from the leaders. John Hall leads, 7 laps to go. Sebastian Marin, after that pit lane speeding penalty, has rebounded to second, but does he have fuel in the tank to pass John Hall and to win this race?
I think like at this point, look how high this groove's getting. I think at this point, these drivers probably feel like they can go on fuel, go all the way on fuel, and they can push. At this point, it's purely a battle for the race victory, as JT Poole kind of getting in the middle of it.
Yeah, fresh tires for the 26. He's going to rocket on by here on the bottom. Feel like Superman for a bit. And Drew Jua is going to back in behind the 30. He wanted to race the 73, but it's too busy right now around the 73.
And 73's got a wing, man. Miller's kind of just shoving him down the straights, giving him help. Got all these guys back there still struggling. Ricky Springer ran top 10 most of this race, but this run hasn't been nice to him. He's back in 16th. Who knows where the fuel lays for all these drivers outside the top 10, like Matheson.
I think those that are going to run out of fuel, we're going to find out in the next 2 or 3 laps who has saved enough. John Hall still leads with 5 laps to go, and Sebastian Marin is the only one really keeping him honest. Batby's backed it way down. He's 1.2 back now.
And Marin went to the bottom. He'd been following John Hall. He figured he had to do something different, so tried the bottom, gained in the center, but look at that run that high line gets. It makes it really hard to make passes when the high line can get those guys, when the high line can just get you all the way around the track like that. But Hall this time shut down the bottom instead of running high.
4 laps to go. This is when the fuel light comes on. If you had a fuel light, this is when you'd be looking for a stop on the side of the interstate. And you start white knuckling a little bit when you get to 2 to go.
But you're going to get the 3 to go still pretty well under power. Last time by, Hall and Marin almost identical laps. That time Marin once again went back to the bottom in 3 and 4 and once again had identical laps, but that 0-3 still pulling out to a bigger lead by a few hundredths per lap. It seems like none of those drivers want to push the top side in 1 and 2.
This is not kind to your soul and your heart if you're a person that has range anxiety like myself. Do not like pushing the limits of the fuel in my real car or in the sim. I'll put an extra half gallon in for qualifying just in case. 2 laps to go, 3 miles for John Hall. A little less than a gallon in that tank most likely.
And Marin lost a lot of time there. He might be out of time, and he might just be hoping for the 0-3 to run out of that fuel because it doesn't seem like he has much to go up and get that lead.
Venable.
Oh, Nichols put a slider for Venable.
Yeah, that got pretty dicey there. Leaders approaching the white flag. John Hall is the only one. Well, now Jake Nichols is up there, but John Hall was the only driver in the top 5 who has won a race in area before, and he's on schedule to do it again tonight. 0.3 of a second lead, Connor, will last lap.
It's all about just hitting your marks if you can have the fuel. It's all about just hitting the marks perfectly and just hoping you can make it to the end with no sort of struggle there. Batby fell way off out of turn number 2. Didn't know if he was out of fuel. I think he was just letting Miller by. One more time for Marin. He's not quite close enough.
Out of turn 4, John Hall is going to do it. Back to his winning ways at Texas. He has enough fuel to make it. John Hall wins in the Lone Star State. Sebastian Marin, Matthew Batby, Jake Nichols, and Michael Venable, the rest of the top 5.
Beckner ran out. He's one of the few that ran out across the line. He's going to finish maybe 15th. Oh, look out behind. You're going to crash past the line. Mostly everyone made it except that 28.
John Hall getting a celebratory bump there from Sebastian Marin. And I really want to know if he's got enough to do a burnout because a lot of trucks were getting close there.
And what a drive by Marin to get all the way back to second from a speeding penalty in a 43 truck field.
Yeah,
that's hard to do.
Impressive.
Just wasn't quite enough. We'll see how much of a burnout he can do.
He's got enough to get it rolling.
I think he's sputtering.
Yeah, I think it's sputtering too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Might have had one more lap in it.
Oh man, what a drive for John Hall. Just enough to get a little smoke for the race fans. That was an impressive drive. Here's a look at your race results. And the last 58 laps of that, or 50-ish laps of that, pretty green.
Had to get there eventually, and we finally did, and ended up being pretty close to the end. Hall, Mayer, and Bappy the top three. Jake Nichols got a little help from Miller there, I felt, to get by Venable and Jua, but Nichols gets fourth, Venable fifth, Jua back to sixth, then Noel Schaefer, Rafe Slate got all the way up to ninth, and 10th, just Anna Sogak. We didn't talk about the 88 all race. He went from barrel rolling in the air to a top 10 finish this week, so I think he'll take that.
Yeah, no Toyotas in the top 10 in this race, and only 2 in the top 20. Trey Eidson and Brandon Bowie. The 54 had a much better run in the first half of the race than the second. Same could be said about Ricky Springer, Jake Matheson as well in that number 52. His pit lane speeding violation never really allowed him to get back to the front. Lucas Strayer, we didn't mention a lot, but a top 20 for him. Yeah, there's Travis Beckner, P15. Not a bad recovery, all things considered, with that big crash on lap 5.
And he did run out of fuel. It could have been maybe 12th, but he did lose about 3 spots running out of fuel. And like I said, he might have been the only one that ran out of fuel. Julian Valadez, Hallman, Caps, Lakatis, and Brad Slaughter Jr., he had a rough night, finishing 25th, and Jonathan Evans could not back up the Daytona victory. He was in that crash that didn't bring out a yellow with a bump from the 50. Mason Kane didn't really have a lot of luck today either. And then Kyle Bartels, he was the only driver on the lead lap to pit late, and he went from 16th to 28th doing it. Then Spencer Burns, Ryan Swan, one of the last drivers on the lead lap.
And looking down the rest of the order, these are drivers that did not have a very good day. We saw Edward Scherer Jr. have his issues on pit lane. Sean Peachin involved in a couple of wrecks. Same with James Shane Wolf. Eric Wineland caught up in one. Big one out of turn 4. David Weishart early on. He rallied through a tough day, down 15 laps. JT Poole out in a crash. Miller, Trader, Hearn, and Balliet also out. And then here's your list of the tail end of the race down to Urashak, who was leading when his internet bailed out on him, and then everyone else a DNQ on this list, Connor.
Yeah, and it would have been a different story if Urashak was at the front. He looked like he had a lot of speed, but we never really got to see what his long run speed was like. He never attempted to get back into a race, but he definitely showed a lot of speed.
Well, there's your race results. Let's talk with a couple of our front runners. Well, the only one that's standing by is John Hall, who, there's John. Hello.
Hello.
Wow, congratulations. There was, at one point towards the end of the race, we were told that there was only one driver in the top 5 that had a previous area series win. It was you. Everyone else would have had their first win tonight. You went up there and you took it away from them, led 15 laps at the tail end of it, and you had enough fuel just to get a little bit of a burnout in. But, I mean, we had no idea where everyone was. We just knew it would be close. How close was it for you, and how much were you saving?
It was really close, actually, on fuel. I know Seb behind me, he had to come through the field, so he was really close on fuel. But I had about half a gallon left when I crossed the line, and it was awesome, or not so awesome, to hear some of the teammates behind me running out, getting close. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was able to save a lot there at the beginning, and that's kind of what propelled me towards the end to keep enough fuel in it and clutching where I could.
Yeah, over the course of this race, we saw a bunch of yellows, and then we got that green flag running. The end, we saw a lot of drivers moving up to that outside lane. Was that sort of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Was that a result of some of the fuel saving going on just to carry some more momentum, or was that actually a quicker line there towards the end of the race?
No, I actually think this place has widened out a lot thanks to the dynamic track updates, and that was a line I kind of figured out in Road to Pro at the beginning of the year, and it was working really well then. So I was like, screw it, let's see how it goes, and it was working out really well. So happy to have that drivability in the racetrack. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, that was a fun race to watch you compete in, and of course, back to victory lane, and gives you a playoff slot as well. So congratulations, John, and we'll see you next week at Pocono.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kyle. I just want to thank Celsius for being on the truck this week, and everybody at the Miller Racing Boys for keeping us up close to the front. So thanks, guys. See you next week.
Thanks, John. Well, Sebastian Marin was second place tonight in the number 32, and wasn't without some struggles tonight, Sebastian. Pit lane speeding penalty dropped you to the tail of the field, and you drove through basically everybody to finish in second, and might have had a shot to win there. What'd you need to beat that 0-3?
To be honest, probably just take care a bit more of the right front. I think I just hurt it a little bit too much early in the run, because I knew he was going to be one of the, if not him and Babby were going to be the people to beat. But I pushed pretty hard, like the first 2 or 3 laps of that last run. And then at that point, I was just playing catch up with him. And I was in dirty air behind him the entire run, so not much really. I think if I would have gotten clean air, it would have been the same scenario. He probably would have been stuck right behind me. So just track position. If it really comes down to it, I think whoever had the lead there at the end was going to win the race. So overall, like you said, still a great race. Unfortunate that I sped early. I was trying to not be in the way of my teammate there, Travis, who was coming into the box, and I was just trying to get up in front of him so I didn't have to lose time waiting, and I wasn't looking at my speed and sped. But overall, a very good race, so I can't be too disappointed.
Yeah, not a bad one at all. Started 20th, as low as 38th, as high as P2. Sebastian Marin comes home in second in the 32 truck. We'll see you next time at Pocono. Thanks for talking.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Matthew Batby comes home in third place in the 89. And we just talked to Sebastian Marin, who seemed pretty happy with the second place, although considering the amount of laps that you led tonight, 65 laps, I have to imagine that you're a bit disappointed. Take us through your night and how that last run happened.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed about that, leading 65 laps and coming up short, but hey, I'm happy for John. That last restart, I needed to save a little bit more fuel, and that right rear was cooked. All night I was doing really good at saving the right rear, but that last run really hurt me.
Well, talk to me about the different lines tonight. We saw that outside lane really start to come into effect late in the run, but for the most part, the front runners were kind of bottom feeders. How much maneuverability did you have on either end of the racetrack?
Oh yeah, you could run wherever you wanted, really. That top, once the bottom kind of got slicked off a little bit, top was really ripping. Once I saw John doing it, and once he passed me, you could definitely tell it was in, and he was flying.
Well, Texas tends to be sort of, not everyone's favorite track, I have to say. And we go to the Tricky Triangle next week, 70 laps at Pocono. How do you feel about your chances to repeat a top 5 out there at Pocono?
Pocono, not a big fan of it, but Texas I like quite well. Pocono, not a big fan of, so I'll try and get top 5, but we'll see.
We will see. Matthew Batby, third place tonight in the 89 Hendry County Motorsports Park Truck. Thanks for chatting.
Yep.
All right, Connor. Well, that will wrap up the interviews tonight. John Hall back in victory lane there as sun sets on Texas Motor Speedway. Before we go, I got a bit wrapped up in the action, so there's a few more things we got to take care of before we sign off. Of course, Elite Entertainment adds some life to this party this summer with Elite Entertainment, located in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Elite Entertainment provides high-quality band production to entertain at any location, including karaoke, singo, and more. Visit Linktree/Elite Entertainment LLC for all contact info. And the High Banks podcast, just two blue-collar guys, Nick and Alex, talking about NASCAR and more. Listen to episode 205 with Brad Slaughter. New episode with Jacob Bell coming soon, available on Spotify. And, of course, rickshotsauce.com with the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Of course, got that Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle that we always follow throughout the season. But, Connor, tonight, a fun race in the Truck Series. I think this bodes well for the kind of racing that we're going to see this season. The new Aero model seems to be a lot more like what you'd see in the real world, but it really makes those crashes spectacular, doesn't it?
Yeah, crashes are crazy. Garrett Grant wishes they weren't as crazy. He's been off of all 4 wheels 2 weeks in a row for him, but there were definitely a lot of drivers who had a rough time at Daytona that battled back and bounced back, like the 88 of Anna Sogak, who had that wild crash. He ends up with a top 10. We didn't talk about him all day, but nothing can be said. You can't say enough about how the way John Hall has been bursting his way into the series. He won at Daytona last season. He just never looked back. He was a title contender all the way throughout. He punched his ticket to the playoffs tonight, so he's going to be another one to reckon with. He's going to be a force throughout this entire Truck Series season. It should be fun to see him rip. And this is the first truck stop at Texas for this series, and definitely disappoint. Had really big crashes, but we also had a lot of racing. And like John Hall was talking about, the groove really widened out. And part of that is maybe the new truck a little bit, but like he said, that dynamic track, the changes they've been doing have definitely made this track a lot better than we've seen in real life. So props to iRacing for that. And it provided a really good race, even though it got crazy at times. We had fuel come into play as well. Some drivers didn't make it, but most drivers did. And John Hall just had enough to do maybe 2 burnouts or so as we look away from Texas, because we still got a little date with Daytona coming up this week.
We sure do. It'll be Finney DeCuna, Hunter Sleppy, and Connor Horn covering the action this Thursday with the Florida State Builders Pro Series from the high banks at Daytona. A week delayed because of the issues with iRacing and the DDoS attacks last week. But looking forward to the next rounds for the Truck Series. We head to Pocono next week, the Tricky Triangle up in Pennsylvania. Then Charlotte, Dover, and our first and only stop at a road course this season, Sonoma, California, in week number 6. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and thanks for joining us here on SimTV. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do that. And follow and subscribe to the twitch.tv/area iRacing channel to use all those emotes. We'll see you next week when we head to Pocono and the Tricky Triangle.